Ohio State just took care of business in a huge way, winning 70-0 over Grambling State in what was really just pure domination like you would expect from Ohio State. But it is nice to see it out on the football field, considering everywhere else you look, teams look like they are struggling. I'm Chris Drew. That's Ron James. Ron, I'll start off with this. How are you on this fine Saturday?
I'm doing great, Chris. You know the best thing about being 2-0.
The chance to go 3-0. And look, the one game was against number one Texas. The second game was what I think is a well-deserved break for Ohio State fans who had to go into every game nervous dating back to last season since they've had, 6 straight top 10 teams faced.
Absolutely. The Buckeyes finally get a chance to relax as far as going into this game against Grambling. They run up to score 70-0. You saw a conservative game plan last week against Texas. Ryan Day said all offseason the only plan going into that game was just win, baby. The Buckeyes go out there and get the win. And man, do you see the Ryan Day offense of old now that things are rolling again.
I do want to tackle every element, and pun intended there, but I want to start with this. Julian Sayin, a little bit of history early. He started the game off, I believe, 15 for 15 in what was, or maybe 16 for 16, what was really exciting, and ended his day without a single ball hitting the ground. Now, you did have the one pick in there, but opening up the game 10 for 10 with 3 touchdowns early, you could really feel like, okay, he was a 5-star all-everything quarterback from California. The trait that every coach and every scout and everybody that we talked to raved about was what? The ball placement, the accuracy. He showed that in a huge way, and it felt good. Okay, look, he can place this ball wherever he wants. I had a blast watching it, Ron. Thoughts on Julian Sayin's start?
Ryan Day had a chance to cement Julian Sayin in Ohio State history books if he were to pull him while he was 15 for 15. Buckeye fans out there that know that record for single game completion record is held by Buckeye legend Tate Martell when he went 10 for 10 and won Big Ten Freshman of the Week back in, I believe, 2018.
It was 2018. Yeah, 2018.
Yeah, it goes out there and sends this single game completion record. Julian Sayin had it in hand. I started sending the text out, hey, is Ryan Day going to pull him and let him keep the record? He had 3 touchdowns already. He already had 15 completions. It was great to see him go out there and dial it up and to see the ball not hit the ground. You wish that last one would have been a completion to our team, but an interception that he knew that he messed up, and the fact that he went straight to the sideline and walked right past Ryan Day and grabbed his iPad to see what happened there, you love to see it, and the fact that he wasn't even comfortable with the performance given the success that he had.
You know, it's funny because like whenever I see the guys go to the iPads now, it's like, okay, like this feels like real NFL because the iPads are a new thing. I believe the last 2 years was the first time we were able to see the iPads. So I did notice that as well. But Julian Sayin, the mechanics look really clean. They look really familiar. You know, the kind of the pacing. Watching Julian Sayin play quarterback is like listening to smooth jazz. He's back there. He's at his own pace. He's at his own tempo. And it's clear that the thing we heard about him seeing the field well is true. There were moments in the Texas game where he was looking off safeties. He still keeps that same kind of polish, looking off defenders and delivering really accurate balls. Now, and I said this on the timeline, against air or not, a good ball is a good ball. And he was placing really good balls right on face masks. So it was nice to see Julian Sayin come out hot and play like that, considering all around the country, quarterbacks are not dominating bad teams like that.
Yeah, a lot of questions about Julian Sayin. Was he a quarterback battle coming into the season, and then last week he had a very conservative game against Texas, and he comes out and shows why he was Saban's last quarterback that he recruited at Alabama. Bill O'Brien gives Ryan Day the greatest gift that he possibly could in a 5-star quarterback in his 10-day tenure at Ohio State. So big shout out to Bill O'Brien for gifting us Julian Sayin. He goes out there and looks every bit the part of the 5-star Elite 11 MVP that he was and the pedigree that he had coming in. And you love to see him really put the statistics up and show the nation what a lot of Buckeye fans knew. And that's Julian Sayin has all the weapons in the world out there.
I said it for, I believe, 8 months. A new quarterback's best friend, running backs, tight ends, slot receivers. The tight ends really came to play today. Will Kazmarek, 2 catches, 55 yards and a touchdown. And then Jelani Thurman had 3 catches, 44 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown being from Link Keynotes. Max Clare, only 1 catch for 7 yards. I still think he's going to lead the team and lead the tight ends in receiving yards, but it is fascinating to see Will Kazmarek get more and more of a role. He looked good. He didn't get caught from behind, and that is a plus.
Yeah, you have to hats off to Coach Key and the development that you've seen out of Will Kazmarek, a transfer from Ohio's come in. We talked about him last week and the success that he had blocking in the run game, and he was super physical in that game against Texas in what they asked him to do, taking on defensive ends one-on-one in that game. And then you see him get involved in the pass game this year. A huge jump from Will Kazmarek this year versus last year, and a massive get for the Buckeyes in the transfer portal, in addition to Max Clare, who's expected to be one of the best tight ends in the country. And Julian Sayin is out there just distributing it to Coach Key's entire room.
Huge. Tight ends had 7 catches. You love that. Obviously, those guys in the middle of the field were able to do their damage. But we got to talk about the man. He's the best player in the sport. And in games like this, he showed up. Jeremiah Smith, 5 catches, 119 yards, averaging 23.8 yards per catch, plus 2 touchdowns and a long of 87. He's athletic. He's a freak show. He's a monster. And also no drops today. We knew the drops were going to be an anomaly, and he looked the part today as he looks for what I would say the campaign this year, the push this year, is going to be for that Biletnikoff, right?
I felt like everybody took advantage of the moment last week as a chance to take shots at Jeremiah Smith, being that they wouldn't get many. You saw Michael Wilbon get out there and say, if this is the best player in college football that you've ever seen, then you haven't watched much college football. No, I just don't think you've watched much Jeremiah Smith. And he goes out there and reminds people why all the hype was as high as it was and why he deserved to be on the cover of NCAA. This guy goes out there and reminds everyone he is the best player in the sport. And it was good to see him get back on track, be able to keep his eye discipline, no drops, no concentration drops this game. And then he's on the sidelines by halftime, just where I want him when the Buckeyes are running the score up.
For games like this, obviously, like all the scoring metrics matter. I think that the committee takes that stuff into account. And also, like the stats at the end of the year, no one looks for like a Power 5 breakdown. So for Jeremiah Smith to get his, 120 and 2 touchdowns and get out of the game is kind of ideal what you want. It was nice seeing him out in space. He looks fast as advertised. I thought it was a great ball right on the face mask. And I'm just, I can't say enough good things about him. And I'm glad that he's stacked today. Because there's going to be times where he's going to have a frustrating half because he's going to get double covered and triple covered. So it's nice to see him that a team is willing to play him one-on-one because they know what it is, and for him to still go crazy. So Jeremiah Smith, hats off to you. And, as we continue this year, my hope is for him to win the Biletnikoff this year to give him the chance to do the rare thing, go back-to-back. And the last player, I remember going back-to-back Biletnikoff, I think it was Justin Blackman. And then before that, it might have been Michael Crabtree or Des Bryant. So it doesn't happen very often, and it doesn't happen in the Big Ten. It doesn't happen across college football. So Jeremiah Smith, absolutely as advertised. The other offensive players I want to talk about, the running backs. Now, look, I know this is a look, we just beat this team 70-0, but we can evaluate guys and talk about guys. What was your takeaway in the running back room? Do you like how carries were divvied up?
It seemed like there was a concerted effort to get the other guys outside of the top 2. Ryan Day re-emphasized in his radio interview this past week that James Peoples and CJ Donaldson are the starters. They view both of them as starters. James Peoples goes out there and has a good day carrying the ball, 7.4 yards per carry, 8 carries for 59 yards. But I feel like the talk of the day was about a guy that we've been hinting at for a few weeks now. The Buckeye fans that follow recruiting have known about this guy for a while. A lot of talk about Bo Jackson in the offseason and the way he looked in the spring game and during spring practices last year. Finally gets his opportunity in his debut for the Buckeyes with 9 carries, 108 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah, the long of 51. He's as advertised, and obviously I know that there were some concerns that I even had about his knees and about him missing some games in high school. But as soon as he got to Ohio State, and hearing coaches talk about him, hearing high school coaches talk about him kind of near the end of his time in high school ball, I think we both expected this to come. We just didn't know when it would come. I didn't know if it would be this early because I thought this game, guys like James Peoples and guys like CJ Donaldson would look like superheroes. But really the superhero was the true freshman. Now, are the other 2 good? Yeah, really good. They're fantastic, and I expect them to be really good. I wanted to see a little bit more burst from James Peoples. Everybody's ripping off long runs. I mean, CJ Donaldson, who's viewed as like a less explosive back than you, had a 27-yard run. Bo Jackson viewed as a slightly less explosive back than you, had a long of 51. Like, we are expecting you to be a really explosive running back, and not seeing that yet just has my eyebrow raised. Do I think you could be that? Absolutely. But right now, it looks like the two guys who have the most upside are CJ Donaldson and Bo Jackson. But I'm not giving up on you yet. I understand that it's early in the year.
Yeah, I'm not giving up on James Peoples, and I think his ability to understand the offense and pass pro is why he's on the field. Same with CJ Donaldson. Those are both guys that know the offense and they trust standing next to Julian Sayin, a guy that we're going to talk about more. And I get it why the coaches want to make sure that he's well protected in the backfield given his performance. But I think pass protection is what is keeping Bo Jackson off the field. He's already an immense talent, and you can see how dynamic he is with the ball in his hands. I think as he gets more comfortable with the offense and gains the coaching staff's trust, you're going to see a lot more carries from him.
Yeah, I'm excited. And also the guy that Ryan Day said he was most excited to see, Isaiah West, got in the end zone too. Looks really good. Looks a little more physical than I thought. I thought he was more of like a scat back burner, but he's got some size on him. Shout out Coach Mick and Coach Laughlin's guys look like they're ready to go. All right, dude, we got to talk about the defense because there is a brewing star who might have just introduced himself to at least the more casual Buckeye Nation. Riley Pettijohn from Texas came to play, and I was watching. I thought to myself, wow. The only way you could keep that kid off the field is if you have multiple All-Americans in front of him, and Ohio State might just have that, right?
Yeah, we talked about the linebackers on last week's postgame, and you brought up Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles and how both of these guys are headed off to the NFL and how disappointed we were with watching one game of Arvell Reese, and we both looked at each other and said, man, this guy's going to be here for 1 year, and he's going to the NFL after 1 year starting for the Buckeyes. And you said, that ain't no problem. We got someone right there behind him. And I said, Riley Pettijohn, and he makes his debut. And what a debut it is. The first introduction to Buckeye Nation, a scoop and score touchdown. You can't say enough about the performance from Riley Pettijohn. And man, these Texas freshmen are special this year. You watch Devin Sanchez out there at cornerback get his first snaps for the Buckeyes and some of the most important minutes of the game against the number one team in the country. And then you see Riley Pettijohn going out and being an instant impact. And we talked about Peyton Pierce, another guy in that linebacker room, and how important he is to this defense because it allows them to move Sonny and Arvell around because they're so confident in the next two linebackers and Riley Pettijohn and Peyton Pierce and their ability to play the linebacker position. So just to see Riley Pettijohn go out there and flash that athleticism that we all know he has. And then another guy behind them that's not even pictured, number 17, true freshman, TJ Alford, another huge get for James Laurinaitis in recruiting. And he shows exactly why he was so coveted by the Buckeyes.
Yeah, man, it's crazy because like that hit that he had was absurd. But I want to circle back to Riley Pettijohn. Doug, I thought to myself, okay, like I don't know if I'll ever get to see a linebacker duo like this again. I don't know how soon I'll see him when talking about Arvell and Sonny, right? Because they come few and far between. I mean, to go back, you got to go like Raekwon McMillan and Darren Lee. Like you got to go back a little while. But when I watch these two, it feels like that. And so like my stance is I want to see them play as much as possible to soak it in. And then my first introduction to Riley Pettijohn, he becomes the first member of the 2025 Ohio State recruiting class to score, the first one. And he plays defense. And the hit he delivered, the force and the fumble, like he looks like Arvell Reese did last year, and Arvell Reese was a sophomore last year.
Were you about to say Ryan Shazier and stopped yourself?
Yeah, you caught me. You caught me. It feels a lot like Shazier, man. And these 3, these 4, these 5, I'm sitting back, I'm thinking like, okay, like I know it's Grambling. I don't want to overreact. But I think we have the 3 freakiest linebackers in the Big Ten.
Watching this game, it made me think of an old Lane Kiffin quote when they asked him about his time at Alabama. And he said, there's times when I was standing over on the sidelines and I'm looking over at the other team we're playing, thinking to myself, our third string could go out there and win this game by double digits. And in years past, we've talked about depth concerns. We've had starter concerns, but it feels like this roster is so stocked. We've been looking around. Last year, we talked all last year. Is that team going to pop up and be 29 LSU, the team that came out of nowhere and just won the national championship? And we looked around at the end of the year and the Buckeyes go, no, we're that team. We're the best team in the country. And it feels like the Buckeyes are starting to assert themselves. While they've always been a premier program, they're looking like the program, the team that you watch every week and just say, that's unfair.
And I don't want to do this really early, but like, I'm already having the debate in my head. I'm already picturing, Ron, the debate that me and you are going to have in 3 years from now. And the debate's going to be, what linebacker duo did we think was more impressive? Arvo Reese and Sonny Styles?
Or Tommy Eichenberg and Still Chambers?
Or Pettijohn and Alford? And it's like, I don't know. And then where does Peyton Pierce fit in all that? Is he going to be like the Cody Simon? He's going to be like the bridge guy? Because I thought he was really good.
I'm glad that you brought that up. I think Peyton Pierce is going to play a similar role for that linebacker duo going forward that he's playing right now, that this option that he gives the defensive staff by knowing that you can move these linebackers wherever and you'll have Peyton Pierce in the middle holding things down. Riley Pettijohn's dad played defensive end for Syracuse, a guy that he doesn't come from small genetics. Mm-mm. We could see him grow into the edge type frame that we've seen CJ Hicks and Arvell Reese seems to be playing linebacker in a defensive end's body. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Riley Pettijohn moving all around the defense, just like Arvell Reese in the next year as he continues to develop. He looks like an NFL linebacker in that picture, and he's an 18-year-old true freshman.
I mean, we've got aliens everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's really nice because it feels like Patricia is the perfect one to help harness whatever alien energy we've got going on. Like,
no, you hit the nail on the head there with Patricia. There couldn't be a better coach. We asked our guy on and of player profiler about a week ago, what is the calling card of this Matt Patricia defense? And he said, linebackers.
Yeah. He did. It's all linebackers. It's all linebackers. Dude, did you there was a point in the game where Patricia called back-to-back blitzes, including a corner blitz with Jermaine Matthews? I was like, whoa, because what are we used to seeing? Like in games where someone's so clearly outmatched, we're used to seeing really vanilla. And then I thought to myself, Chris, but wait. If you're Matt Patricia, once the season starts, for the last 20 years you've been in the NFL, there is no keeping anything vanilla. Whoever's on the other side over there, you're going to get your stuff off and you're going to work on your stuff. And at first I was like, this might be a little bit cruel. But on the other side, I'm like, okay, let them run it as much as possible because we want them to be super, super sure when we run these exotic blitzes as possible. So, yeah, go do it. It was fine. Jermaine Matthews kind of took a little bit of a weird angle, but he looked like he was so excited to go blitz somebody.
Yeah, and Matt Patricia did a great job disguising that blitz. He walked Caleb Downs into the box, and that's where the quarterback's eyes were the entire play until he turned when Jermaine Matthews was practically in his lap coming screaming off the edge. The fact that they were dialing it up against Grambling in a game that they won 70-0, it shows that these Buckeyes are probably going to have no mercy on any opponent. You see the success that Texas went out there and had this week, and the question was, well, man, is Ohio State that good, or is Texas just not as good as everyone told us? And the answer is Ohio State is that good.
Yeah, we're that good and then some. There was also a moment, maybe the most impressive moment on defense the entire game. I know that we had some great plays, but the Caleb Downs play where he took a step forward like he was going to blitz and then took a step back and caught a 99-mile-per-hour fastball right above his head for an interception. Ron, he looks like he sees the game and watches the game in slow motion. It's unbelievable.
We had an opportunity to see him at fall camp this past year, and even when he wasn't on the field, he was on the sidelines calling out the play. His game IQ is through the roof, and he's going to be an absolute nightmare for defenses. We have a saying, once a Buckeye, always a Buckeye. And I think Nick Saban had that in his mind when he gifted us Caleb Downs and Julian Sayin. You can't be more thankful because this was a recruitment that the Buckeyes were devastated to lose. Ryan Day talked about it on the Downs to Business podcast, Caleb Downs podcast that he does with his brother, Josh Downs. And he said the first time Caleb Downs decided to commit to Alabama, he called Ryan Day to let him know that he wouldn't be coming to Ohio State. And he called Ryan Day again a second time when he was in the transfer portal, and he pretended like he wasn't going to commit to Ohio State. And then he let Ryan know that he would be attending Ohio State and was going to be a Buckeye. Ryan Day said he threw his phone in celebration. He was so excited. And you see him make plays like that, and you see why this coaching staff was so enamored with him. Ryan Day even went as far as saying that Caleb Downs was the best high school player that he's ever watched in person.
I mean, Nick Saban essentially offered Caleb Downs the opportunity to play any position, running back, corner, like anything.
Like Ray Lewis when he was coming out of high school.
Yeah, like literally, like wherever you want to play, just come here and we want to play you there. And it's wild that Kirby and company messed up that recruitment not once but twice for a kid from the state of Georgia. Neither here nor there. The rest of the DBs, Ron. I want to start with number one, man. Igbinosun, people were waiting on him to mess up, maybe myself included. Who knows? I mean, sometimes he was like a little grabby last year, and it was really frustrating. I might have been his biggest fan, but he definitely was grabby. We are now 2 games in, and I believe we have no Igbinosun penalties, correct?
0 Igbinosun penalties.
That's important. That's important. And he said what before the season? I'm making more of an effort to find the football and be less handsy, and he's done exactly that. And he looks really sticky. He looks like JPJ without the pass interference plays. And maybe he needed the threat of a Devin Sanchez being right on his heels to do that. Maybe he needed the chance to take a break every now and again and not be so tired, because that's when we saw a lot of the grabbing from him during like late in games and like long drives. It always felt like at big moments because he played every snap. We now have depth at corner. Other guys are playing. Scott's playing. West is playing. Sanchez playing against Texas. And all of those things are happening at the same time as Igbinosun's huge level up. Thoughts on BIA in this secondary?
I mean, the Buckeyes have come a long way from Denzel Burke having to start against Minnesota on the road for a Big Ten matchup to start the season as a true freshman. When that was announced, everybody was looking like, what is going on? That we have a true freshman starting at cornerback, and now this room is absolutely loaded. When Igbinosun comes off the field, oh, no worries. Aaron Scott comes in the game and almost gets an interception. BIA is back in full force, and again, another room for the on this Ohio State team that is an embarrassment of riches.
It's unbelievable. I honestly, I told myself I don't think I would ever see a defense as good as the 2019 group. This defense has a real chance because
I want to attack that, because I want to ask you, Chris. Have the pass rush of the 2019 team, but they are able to their secondary is ridiculous. Their linebackers find a way to get after the passer. Can this team be the best defensive unit that we've seen in the Ryan Day era? I feel like the only thing that may be holding this team back is the pass rush. And then you look at the way that Zion, Grady, and Epi Satana at the end of the game. This is going to be such a fun season to watch for Buckeye fans, because there are so many talented young players that are going to get opportunities throughout the year and a chance to prove that they need to be contributors on this team. And I think Zion, Grady, and Epi Satanale are going to fall into that bucket. And I think the pass rush is going to be what decides if this is Ryan Day's best defense he's ever had.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a conversation about what is this pass rush going to be. And right now, I think they're really being aided by the fact that Arvo Reese is so flexible. Because like I told Tyler and a couple other people, maybe you before the year, like this defense has a chance to be really good. I don't know if they have the Chase Young to be the 19 defense. And then I thought to myself, okay, I saw them play and I see how they've used Arvell, and these linebackers are so much better than 19's linebackers that they might be able to kind of supplement that and work through that, because Arvo Reese is a twitchy, monstrous pass rusher, right? Like it when he's asked to do that. And Sling Styles coming off the edge is very explosive and athletic. And Caleb Downs, while I love Jordan Fuller, Caleb Downs just does more than him and can be used in more versatile ways. And of course, Patricia is more of a mad scientist than Hafley. Now, for Hafley, they were so good at cover 3, they were able to squeeze absolutely everybody. This defense, they're so multiple, they're able to confuse everybody and squeeze everybody. It's wild to watch. So when I'm talking about this defense versus the 19 defense, the number one thing for me to reference in terms of why I think this defense could catch them is because of the play of Arvo Reese. There wasn't one of those on 19. Now it's going to be up to, a guy like can Igbinosun, hold up all year? And I know he hasn't grabbed now, but can he hold up all year? Like, can a guy like Jermaine Matthews be as good as Okuda down the stretch when he plays NFL receivers? Like, can
Well, did he play against an NFL receiver? Parker Livingston went out there and said, "Hey,
Oh
today
yeah, I mean,
for
yeah, I mean,
Texas, he goes out there and has 2 touchdowns." I know they're only playing San Jose State, but I mean, these Texas wide receivers are no slouch, and we've
yeah,
watched
no,
them
no,
do it
they're
last
not. I
week
was more just referring like down the stretch because like the
for
big game
sure.
if they get there. I mean, if they they play in Indy. I mean, the Oregon game, right? Like DeCorey Moore looks crazy right now. Looks crazy. So like we'll kind of see how things work through. And obviously, like we saw Oregon receivers get off on Ohio State corners last year, and again, that's way down the road. But I guess that's for me the question is like, how much better can these linebackers be than the 19 linebackers, and can that supplement the pass rush? Because here we go, Irvo Reese on the edge might not be 19 and a half sacks a year, but if he was a full-time defensive end, I think he's good enough for 12 and a half a year.
Yeah,
So
if you give him the opportunity.
if you give him the chance. And I think with Peyton Pierce, they're able to kind of work this through some things chance-wise. I will say this. Where this defense, I believe, has the 19 defense stumped 100%, violence. This is a violent group.
I said it last week, and I'll say it again. I saw this defense in person at camp, and I said, we got a defense full of crash outs. The level of aggression and attitude that this defense has is something that we've never seen before in Ohio State history. I tweeted out during the game, these freshmen decided to come out here and choose violence because when this team is this loaded, you have borderline 5 stars repping with the threes at Ohio State with how talented this team is. And then when they get an opportunity, they don't care if they're playing Grambling State or not. They're going to go out there and hit somebody. And I absolutely love to see it.
Yeah, like I'm talking violence, man. And I'm going to choose to believe that was Lathan Ransom's legacy. He smacked every playoff contender so hard last year that may have become an emphasis for Ryan Day and the whole defensive staff. It's like I couldn't quantify what Lathan Ransom meant to this Ohio State team last year, but seeing what they look like this year after not really being a violent team in the Ryan Day tenure, I will give that and give a lot of credit to Lathan Ransom because I think everyone realized, okay, yeah, like, wrapping up, gator tackling, all that's nice. But there is an element of fear when you really hit some guys. You can tell that these guys don't really get to hit too much in practice because they're dealing with a whole bunch of NFL receivers. And still on Saturdays, they take it out on the other team. There were a couple times during this game, I'm like, ooh, or like 2 steps before a hit because I see it coming, right?
When you have a potential first-round quarterback like Julian Sayin that you're not allowed to tackle in practice, when you have 5-star wide receivers that you're not allowed to breathe on in practice, this defense gets out there and sees someone with different jerseys out there, and they turn into a bull that sees red.
Yeah, a lot of red, except for we are the red, and we're smacking folks. And the reason this win, Ron, this dominant win, really made me happy is because I think I'm ready to ask the question: who does Julian Sayin remind you of?
Chris, it felt like Scooby-Doo out there. Oh, the picture.
Shreggy? Hey, take the mask off.
It felt like Scooby-Doo. It felt like they ripped the mask off, and it was CJ Stroud under there when they took off the helmet of number 10. It feels like Ryan Day has another superstar quarterback in Julian Sayin.
Do you remember what people were saying? Like, what if CJ Stroud had the 2023 Ohio State defense? Well, here we go. Welcome back, CJ Stroud. And also, we're going to pair you up with a defense better than the 2023 defense.
It felt like CJ walked so Julian can run. We're finally seeing Ryan Day hit his stride as a coach and I've been saying, I'm not calling it a program anymore. It feels like an NFL organization that Ryan Day is running. And man, this team is absolutely loaded and it feels like it's just filled with NFL star after NFL star. And it seems like Julian Sayin is going to be the next one.
I know it's Grambling. I'm aware. But it and Ohio State. We're here. We're putting it together. This team looks primed to go back to back. The Alabama dynasty is over, and there was going to be a rat race, a climb to who is first up, who is next up in line. It feels like the Big Ten has young Urban Meyer and young Nick Saban. And it feels like when you look around the country, the team to beat has never been more clearly Ohio State. And Ryan Day looks like, okay, I've got the Iron Man suit on. Let's see where this thing goes. And I'm excited for this year, Ron, because right now I couldn't feel better about where this team is. They checked all the boxes. We saw creativity in the run game. We saw offensive explosion. We saw the defense stay nasty. And I look around the country and I see a bunch of teams that are underperforming. They should be the favorite to go back to back. And that's all I got, man. I'm ready.
Feels like the Buckeyes are ready to go back to back. The one question that we had coming out of week one was this offense going to get back on track? And boy, did they do that. They hung up 70 on Grambling State, and the Buckeyes continue to roll at 2-0.
They do. Get us out of here, Ron.
You know how this thing ends. It's always go Bucks. And of course, OH.
I-O.